Namaste. With all my heart, I'd love to welcome you to the upcoming Assisi pilgrimage. You know, even though I was not born into the Catholic tradition, as a very young child, I felt this great connection to Assisi and found that I was given this little wooden statue of him, and somehow he became a patron saint for me in my life. And as I grew older, he found his way into my dreams, and as I even grew older still, into my meditations. And I feel like, in a way, that I've had darshan, a vision of St. Francis. And a few years ago, I got pulled to go to the Assisi region to experience if the presence of the man still was in that region, and to go on my own personal pilgrimage. And I was very deeply moved by the Assisi region. There is a rarefied atmosphere there. There's a real stillness that's underneath all the spiritual tourism that's going on in that region. And I took myself to the grove where he spoke to the birds, and I meditated there, and also to the little chapel that he built with his own hands. I found my way miles away from Assisi to the very hillside that he walked on, that he spent his last days on, where he actually had the stigmata happen. And I sat for meditation in the caves that he sat and meditated in and slept in. And I found myself walking in his footsteps. And I was so moved by my own direct experience, and I had quite a mystical experience there, that I decided I would offer the Assisi pilgrimage. But before that, I immersed myself in his life. And lo and behold, I could never have known this. It's the first teachings I've ever come across that are identical to the journey. He actually speaks about going down through these layers of devastation into this blackness, and then falling into an infinite light, this that we call source. And he lived his life as an expression of this light that he found, this love. And he immersed his life in a teaching of forgiveness. And it's so interesting that these are all the teachings of the journey. And wordlessly, I was inspired by him and didn't know that I would find out that he was the first one I found documenting what the journey is and does. And it's probably why I was so drawn to him. And in any case, the whole of his life was spent just bringing the teachings of the gospel, not the teaching of the religion, but of the gospel, to people, just sharing very simple life, one lived with love, with forgiveness of yourself and others. And I was moved to see that even he died very young, but in his last year of life, he'd grown blind, and he had also he'd become crippled, and they carried him around, his disciples did, in a cart from village to village, where all he did was go from person to person and ask for forgiveness from them. Now, this so touched me that these teachings found their way into our first satsang pilgrimage there. And our satsangs were really quite raw, quite splaying, and new work on forgiveness emerged out of it. And I found that I was deeply transformed by my time there, which is why I'm hosting another satsang pilgrimage there this year. And so it's a 5-day immersion where we will travel to the place where he spoke to the birds, to the chapels that he meditated in and prayed in, to the chapel of absolution, where he built this little chapel. And he meditated in there, and it was finally sanctified to be a chapel of absolution, where you go in there, pray, and then when you leave, that you're free from this that you need to be forgiven for. And we will also go miles away to La Verna, where he spent the greatest part of his latter life wandering through the hills, and sit in the caves there, and the hills, very hillside that he got this stigmata. And so it's our own personal pilgrimage. Every day we have yoga, we have satsang, and I keep the group small so you can take time to come up and share issues that are arising, and we can have classical satsang, and it's a magical time. And so I pray with all my heart that your heart will be called by St. Francis himself, by Assisi, to come join us on this Assisi pilgrimage. And until then, I wish you many blessings, and I pray for you that you can come and immerse yourself in this mystical time. Namaste.